G'day guys, I'm on the couch with Woody and my guest today is needing no introduction. He's one of my my most likeable artists that I've met over the last 3 to 4 years. I've watched his career go from go to woe, but he's got a good story. And we've got Andy Penkow on the couch. Good to see you, mate.
Hey, mate. Thanks so much for having me.
Mate, pleasure,
Appreciate
mate.
it. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you. And it really is, mate, because I think, especially in the Australian country scene, we all know each other's stories and each other's quirks, and I think that's what makes it so beautiful. It's a really strong scene.
It is,
and
yeah.
And it's, you know, all the foes or all the great people really stand out, and you can depend on them. So.
It's like a family, isn't it? You know,
100%.
It's a very dysfunctional family at times. You know, it's been for me. It's been a good learning curve. Like not just musically, but for my personality and for as a human being. You know, you learn a lot about yourself working in the music industry.
Yeah.
You know how to relate to people and treat people right.
That's great.
Sure.
Well, let's get stuck into it. I want to
do it.
always talk about your first memory of music and when music became that little compass in your mind that's what I need to follow. Where was it?
Man, I think for me, music's been something. It's like my best friend. It's something that's been with me my whole life, and it's also my worst enemy at times too, because it's a really tough thing to go to focus on, and you know, you sacrifice a lot of things in life to do music. But it started. I grew up in a really small town, Sussex, isn't it? Have you ever heard of that place? When I was there was like 500 people in this little town, and there's nothing to do really, apart from get in trouble and be a rat bag. So basically, for me, I kind of went down that road of learning how to play guitar and learning how to sing, and it kept me out of trouble. But I was always surrounded by music. My grandmother was an opera singer. She was a professional opera singer with Joan Sullivan and a whole bunch of amazing Australian opera singers. So I'd always been surrounded by her. All my cousins are musical, but they never really did anything with it. My brother's quite musical. So yeah, it's just something we've always been, around. You go to the family Christmas party, everyone's singing and playing guitar and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of followed me around for a very long time, and it's still following me around now.
No, that's good. So on that, because I know Penkow, what's the ethnicity background of Penkow? What is it?
So my dad is Estonian.
Estonian?
Yeah. So my dad's side is the Eastern European side, and my mum's side is Irish. So we kind of got a bit of a mixed bag.
They all love drinking.
Kind of throw 100%. It's either the vodka or the beer, isn't it? Yeah, depending on which family gathering I'm going to. But yeah, my dad grew up in Australia, but it's kind of weird because having that surname in a very Aussie town, it was very strange.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd go to school and my mum learned how to cook lots of Estonian food, even though she was born here from my dad. But I'd go to school with like cabbage rolls and all these kind of weird food, and all the kids would be like, "What the hell are you eating?"
Where's the Devon sandwich with tomato sauce?
Tomato sauce, So at the time, I was kind of thought, "Oh, this is really not good," Like, I wish I was like everyone else. But yeah, it's one of those things. I'm so grateful that I got to.
You got that heritage and that lineage and
100%.
that culture, mate. I always say to my mates, growing up, because I'm a Canterbury Bankstown supporter with the Bulldogs. And all the
don't tell my dad that.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? There's a lot of Lebanese and that.
Yeah.
And they all go, mate, you're the most Aussie wog we've ever met. Like, Aussie, because I'm passionate.
100%, yeah. My dad actually played for Canterbury
did he?
back in the day. And he's a huge Canterbury.
Yeah, good. I will get along really well. Just don't tell Matty Cornell, because
way back.
We're not going to go and play when the South and Canterbury plays. So. That's Matt Cornell. You've got to look him up, guys. Matty Cornell. He's a wonderful human and a great artist as well. All right, well, back to Andy. So that's cool. So for me, is there an actual point? Because I always say this story, but I remember being at Dreamworld when I was 4 years old, looking at the barbershop quartet, and they had the straw hats on with the red and white stripes, and they were doing 4 and 5 part harmonies.
Yep.
And I remember just getting shivers talking about it, just watching going. And Mum goes, I couldn't drag you away.
Yeah,
like
right.
You were just fixated.
Yep.
Is there a memory for you that's like that with music?
Yeah, I think watching my brother play guitar, that kind of thing, like being around that was really influential for me, because I was kind of like, I wish I could play like him. He's 10 times better guitar player than I am. That kind of thing. But I think at school, when I was quite young, I would have been probably about 6 or 7, probably my most earliest memory of music, that we had like a school concert and all the kids had to sing. So we all put in the choir and I didn't really want to do it. But then my teacher pulled me aside and wanted me to sing this solo, and I didn't want to sing the solo, but I had to do it. And then everyone was like, "Wow, you've actually got a pretty decent voice." And she rang my mum up, and she was like, "I think Andy should be a singer. He's actually pretty decent."
Actually
So that's where it started for me. And that from there on in, I just kind of started singing in the choirs when I was really young, and which wasn't very cool as a kid, obviously.
No.
And
With the food and the choir,
the food in the choir, it was a whole big mess, man. Like, look at me now. Huh?
No, you look like a rock star, mate. So you've worked on
It's the hair.
It's
yeah,
the
exactly.
Hair, yeah.
But that's kind of where it started, I think, for me. And I probably owe it to that teacher, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think a lot of musicians owe it to a lot of different people that, especially teachers in their life, especially their music teachers at school. But she was the one that she wasn't a music teacher. She was just like
the relief one that had the music roll.
Yeah.
But she identified it. She would have loved
she heard
music
it, which was really cool. And my grandmother, who, like I said, was an opera singer, she used to say to me as a kid, "Do not become a singer. It's way too hard. Right. Become a doctor or a lawyer. There's more money." That kind of thing. So
but it's hard.
I didn't listen.
Mate, it's hard doing something 24 hours that you're not passionate in. Like
For sure.
did police. I was a police officer, and there was times there where I was just going, "What am I doing this for?" And it's really hard music, but it's a lot harder doing something that you hate.
Yep, 100%.
And mate, all hats off to you, mate, because I've known you quite a while now, and we've had a lot of banter back and forward on social media and that. But I'm very impressed. I love when I meet people who I respect, and then I can get along with them. I think it's wonderful. So hats off to you, mate. You're doing great already.
Thanks so much, man.
Let's go through some of your early memories of band work or songwriting. You've been writing songs. We'll get into the Nashville thing soon, but let's talk about, that first memory. Have you got your first cassette or your first CD of the first band you're in still?
Actually, I remember the first CD I got. It wasn't mine, but it was New Kids on the Block.
Right.
And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And my grandmother brought it for me, rest her soul.
Yeah.
And I've actually still got that CD.
Yep,
it's the first one I ever had. And I think, because like with my style of music, especially in the country scene, I'm not a traditional country singer. I don't really get put in that box. I've really tried to stretch the boundaries as much as I can with my sound and to really make it, a unique sound, something a little bit different to what's happening in the industry. And I think that stems back to all the different bands that I played in along the years. I was in a band with my brother when we were kind of 16, just, in my parents' garage, doing that kind of thing. And then as I kind of got into it more, ended up getting into a band at school, and we went to Battle of the Bands, which was a pretty big thing back in the 90s.
It was always,
And Silverchair actually won it.
Wow.
Back in.
So that was Unearthed, the first Unearthed.
It was pretty much one of the first Unearthed. And it was like all the high school bands would go to this competition. So we got into the competition, and we came up to Strathfield, and we played in this amazing competition, and that was kind of my first big thing. But I started doing Talent Quest as well. I was in the Talent Quest circuit for a long time. And I was singing against, Travis Collins, he was doing it.
Wow.
The McClymonts, everyone was in these Talent Quests as kids, and anything any Talent Quest you were in with Travis, he would always win it. Or the McClymonts, they would do it. So there was kind of a bunch of people doing that little circuit back in the day. And, I think I learned a lot by doing that, but I wasn't singing country music then. I was doing a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
I then went to JMC Academy, and I started singing metal.
Yep.
So I was in this metal band for a little bit of time, which was a lot of fun. It was kind of like it was kind of like Metallica. So quite heavy music, but then melodic vocals over the top.
My favourite junior band when I was your age and that was Tool.
Yeah, cool.
I was Maynard Keenan's biggest idol. I still respect him so much. I think he's genius. He's a clever guy.
I agree with you.
But that sort of music, I like the heavy edge music, but I wanted the melody to come through, and the story is also the lyric content of those songs is amazing when you read it like poetry. They're clever people,
100%. I've got respect for all of them. I think it's one of those genres where a lot of people don't like it because they don't understand it. So I think if you strip it all back. And like you said, if you just strip it back and look at the lyric content or the structure of how they do something, it's really, really interesting and super clever.
Yeah, exactly.
So I learned a lot about myself doing that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So was that like, so you've And it's funny, isn't it funny how you cross paths with certain people? You can go to Europe and we'll run into each other.
Yeah,
like there's a certain, like
100%.
3 degrees of separation.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you've got the Travis Collins and the McClymonts, Brooke and the sisters.
Yeah.
They were in your world. So they've seen you grow into this artist, which is beautiful for them to see as well.
It's kind of an interesting road for me because I stopped doing it when I was about 19 and they kept going because life took a hold for me. Like I felt like it was every weekend I was doing these talent quests and I wasn't enjoying it. So I felt like I needed to get a real life and enjoy my life. So I went to JMC Academy and studied music, but I think I started to kind of have a bit too much fun and kind of let my hair down a little bit too much. So I kind of lost the passion for a little bit, maybe for a good 10 years. And just got, ended up working and
what job were you doing when you were doing a normal job?
Yeah.
What was your normal gig?
So
in your 20s, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I had two major jobs. I was a personal trainer for a good 10 years, which was a lot of fun. And I loved the body, mind, spirit thing with that.
Of course,
It was really something I needed to do for my own mental health too, because it was a struggle. Those years were really tough for me. So that was something that kind of helped me through it. And I also worked in audio. So I worked for JBL for a long time.
Okay, yeah.
And which was cool. So I was still kind of surrounded by music and whatever else. So it wasn't like, I just forgot about it, but I needed to kind of let go of it because it was too much. I felt like I wasn't really getting anywhere with it. I was doing all these talent quests and, studying music and all that stuff, but there wasn't much happening. So I thought maybe this is it. Maybe it's not really meant for me. So went down a completely different path.
So that's interesting because, and I found that when I feel I owe everything, not to music, I owe everything to the country genre.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I found a people that I could start to build on.
Yeah.
And I felt like there was a clear path.
Yeah.
It might take 5-10 years.
Yeah.
But there's a pathway in the country scene still. Like the other genres, they left us in the 90s and the 2000s.
Yeah.
They abandoned us. And Luke O'Shea was talking about when radio stopped playing Australian content, they pulled the handbrake up on original music in Australia.
Yeah.
And he said it was around the time of the end of 1927 or those sort of bands, and they still get to tour on their albums.
Yeah.
But that's when the corporate machine was in the back pockets of the Aussie artists.
Yep.
Was we've been abandoned, mate, and don't think that's a light thing when I say it.
Yeah.
We still have a voice in the country scene, and I think you've done the right thing. But when did that start to turn for you? For me, it was when I picked up an acoustic guitar at 14.
Yeah.
And I started playing a G chord and a D chord, and I went, that is interesting.
Yeah,
and I fell in love with acoustic guitar.
Yeah, yeah.
After being like you, mate, out front yelling in a microphone.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'd always been interested in the stories, no matter what genre. Like I always loved storytelling. But I grew up around country music because my grandfather was a truck driver. He played Slim Dusty every time we'd go over there. My grandmother being an opera singer, there was two different styles of music kind of headbutting each other. And my mum had a really interesting record collection. Like we used to get home from school and she'd be playing, Neil Young and Dolly Parton and lots of Americana music and things that like on all these old record player, like she'd have an old record player and I'd get home and she'd be cooking and she'd be playing the music and that really struck a chord with me. So that the Americana country thing had always been in the back of my mind. It always kind of sat in the back of my mind. I never really wanted to do it. Like I did a few country music talent quests and stuff when I was a kid, but I never thought that that's the genre that I'd go down until I really understood what it was about. And like, I think for me, it was one of those things where if I could really resonate with the story and like the reason why I got into country too was I wanted to tell a story my own way. And I wanted people to relate to it in their way. That's how I try to write my music. I try and write it so that it's a very broad kind of subject, like anyone can relate to the content in their own life. Yep. Instead of singing about one thing, singing about a couple, a couch or something like that, you know what I mean? I was singing about heartbreak. Everyone's had heartbreak in their life. Yep. So if you sit down and listen to music, it'll take you back to that, or you know what I mean? You can relate it into your own content.
we'll go down the road of like when you talk about dark times, because I know you're a strong advocate for mental health. I'm as well. I'll say this, Travis, I was the first Are You OK ambassador before you, mate. Because I know he does that now, and I'm glad he does a great job with that. But I was not the first, but I was actually doing that well before like it became a thing.
Yep.
And I sang a few songs at for the Minister of Health, for mental health at the state parliament. And Damien Leith and I were mates, and we were doing it together and having a laugh. For those who don't know Damien Leith, he's a very famous Irish guy, but comes second or won Australian Idol back in the day. But yeah, the reason why I say that is that I've still struggled even as an adult to go through periods of very sane, strong mind, but then also very periods of vulnerability. And luckily for me, it's my best mates and my beautiful wife and my kids that give me a compass just to hold on, to that day to hold on. But share with me, because I know that the latest song we're going to get you to play if you don't mind later. But that is it's a beautiful track. I'm getting shivers talking about it. But it's a wonderful track you co-wrote in Nashville. But that's about that, isn't it? It's about reaching out to those people.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I thought, I've had my own struggles in life with mental health issues. Especially, I think being a musician can really be such a fun thing and such an exciting thing. It can also be a really dark thing as well, because you've got when you're looking at everyone else's lives, people have got a day job and they're going to work 9 to 5 and they've got a steady income and they're all buying houses and they're all getting married there, which you can't really do that as a musician when you're 100% focused on it, because you've got to, at the drop of a hat, you've got to go on tour, you've got to go and play gigs, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. So it's really tough to find the balance between it all. But I think trying to find myself as a human, in my early 20s, really kind of, I went down a pretty dark little path there. So I think I can really relate to how people feel, and I can relate to the whole, mental health thing. Everyone has a different story. No one's story is the same.
That's right.
And that's the thing with mental health. So I feel like I wanted to be able to shine a light on it, especially because I understand it. And yourself too.
You've lived it.
You've lived it. So it's something that it's really authentic to me. It's not. There's no smoke and mirrors here. It's literally who I am. And I think, it's really important for me to kind of just go, okay, it's okay to feel
like that.
To feel like that. It's okay and it's okay to talk about it too.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I wanted to write the song. So we wrote
Start a conversation.
Pretty much. And I think especially being male too, because you kind of feel like it's the vulnerability side of things is not a normal thing for a male. It's changing obviously now, but you kind of feel like men should be strong all the time. They should be like, they should be the warriors here. They should be the ones carrying all the burdens. So I think, shining a light on men's mental health is really important for me as well, because it kind of gets overlooked a little bit, especially this day and age with the very woke society that we live in. And I've got a lot of friends that have been through a lot of really dark times. I lost my cousin this year to mental health. So it's one of those things where it's definitely, it's in here. It's home pretty close. So.
100%. And what I've discovered as well, and this is the one thing I can understand why people think, well, why are they so happy and jovial? And you don't judge a book by its cover, but more importantly, we are blessed as artists, because what you were saying before, you said, everyone's going through the 9 to 5. They're doing paying for the house, they're looking after the kids. But we get the chance every weekend or whenever we get to perform to have an outlet that we can put all of our emotions out and be brave.
That's the high of it all, isn't it?
But when we do that, and then we have the other receptive audience respond to that, it's like no one would, like they say, no one knows how a surfer feels. No one knows a feeling like a surfer. No one knows a feeling like a true musician.
100%.
Like we should have shirts and wear them proudly. Because I think the broken, the messed up, the hurt, the distraught, I think they're all inner musicians. I really do believe that, or artists in some way,
Oh, artists are so broken. It doesn't matter what you do. If you're a painter, if you're a musician, art is it's a very interesting thing, because it's really personal. What I do, the next person may not like it, vice versa. It's a very personal thing, art, because it comes from in here. So not everyone's going to understand it. And I think that's a very ignorant way to look. A lot of people look at it quite ignorantly. But
Superficially.
it is, like, you know, I don't like that song because it's this, and this. But somebody's sat down and they've actually, you know, resonated and they've gone through their feelings and they're trying to write something that's, you know, personal to them. So I think I've got respect for any artist. I've got respect for anyone that does music, especially, you know, in the country music scene. There's a lot of music that gets thrown around, and I think it's really important to kind of go, you know, you're doing a good job. You know, it might not be your thing. That's right. I think it's important to do that as an artist.
Acknowledge it. And I think, mate, that comes from wisdom. I'm a little bit older than you, but I think that comes from a real sense of being a good human.
Yeah.
That's what your job is, humanity.
For sure.
Is be a good human, you know, because we've all been cocky when we've been younger. And for a girl, we've all been probably a pain in the butt sometimes. But I think as you get older and you start to learn these life lessons, even the boss of the council, I was having a chat to him yesterday, and he's just like grinning to me. And I'm thinking, like, is he talking to me when he's having this conversation? Because he's we all go through our times, you know. When I think in Jesus, was I on the cans one night? I was going, I'm going to be the king of country. I don't know what, but it was just I wasn't listening like that. I was listening purely to go. I like to listen to older people.
I agree.
I think we've got to value that, especially in Australian culture. For some reason. They get past 60 and we think what they have to say is not valuable. Shut your mouth and listen, because you're going to learn a lot more than you will from a 20-year-old, I'm telling you now.
Get your boots on.
In a world driven by visuals, every frame tells a story. Every moment captures emotion. At Speedy Tech Media, we breathe life into your vision. Our dedicated team of experts craft unforgettable experiences. We don't just shoot videos, we create memories that last a lifetime. Join us in making your dreams a reality. Elevate your brand with Speedy Tech Media. Contact us today. Let's tell your story together.